So next, triggers. So here, observe this one. If you want to avoid the abnormal transactions, suppose for example I have a table. In my table I want to insert some data. Okay. Suppose in my table I have 3 columns: student number, student name, and student contact number. Right. Now I want to insert the first record. The student number is 1, student name is Abhi, student number is so and so 01234. Okay, they have 4 numbers. And then next we can go for the second record. I want to insert one more second record. In that second record I want to give the same student number is 1. Have we accepted the system? The system is accepted the same second record is a 1. So how we can go to maintain the restriction while going to insert the same number of the same table? Constraints, right? Up to use the constraints we can go to maintain the only unique records in our database. Fine. Suppose say example, one of the end user is going to working on Oracle applications and so different days. But here our client does not accept our client does not allow the any transactions on a respected day. Respected day means Sunday. Holiday, no one is log into the Oracle application, doesn't do any transaction. Suppose say example, very simple example, in the Sunday, okay, Sunday is a holiday, right? Sunday no one is created the any user. So we have several ways is there while going to restrict the transaction. Suppose say example in front end we can possible to restrict the transaction while using page personalization or form personalization. We have the personalization that will be going to avoid that. And also from back end how we can go to restrict that. So in back end whenever the user is created, suppose in front end whenever user is created, which table is reflected? FND user table is reflected. Suppose you can go to write a proper condition on that particular table, FND user table. If any case anybody is going to create any user from the front end, even though he is going to log into the Oracle application, he is going to create any user from the front end on Sunday, the table does not accept it. Why? Because we already write a condition, but the constraints can be possible to hold the data. The constraint does not hold the data. Constraint is going to checking whether the data is valid or not, whether the data is unique or not. If it is unique, it is accepted. But I don't want to accept the data, means I don't want to allow the transaction which is be done into the Sunday. All of you clear or not? Okay. Then here how we can go to maintain that security, or how we can go to maintain that restriction. So while using triggers, if you want to avoid the abnormal transaction. So if you want to do any transaction on Sunday, is it working day or not? It is not a working day, right? Then if you do any transaction on that particular day, it is an invalid transaction. So this transaction we call it as a abnormal transaction. If you want to avoid the abnormal transaction, then we can go for the triggers. Okay, trigger is an event. Okay, so here observe this one. Trigger is also same as stored procedure. And also it will automatically invoked whenever DML operation performed against table or view. Observe this one, it's a very important question. Can be possible to write a trigger on view? Yes, definitely we can write it. We don't have any restrictions to write the triggers only on table. We can possible to write it in triggers in views also, right? Then here there are 2 types of triggers supported by the PLSQL engine. 2 types. One is a statement level trigger, another one is row level trigger. Statement level trigger and row level trigger. Here observe this one. In statement level trigger, trigger body is executed only once for DML statements. Statement level trigger. So means say example, in our table I have 1000 records. Now I want to apply one condition. That condition will be going to executed only once the entire table. Even though we have 1000 records, we have one record, or we have 1 lakh record also. Suppose we have number of records, but the trigger is executed only once at a time. That is called as a statement level trigger. The next we can go for row level trigger. Means here the row level trigger, the trigger body is executed for each and every DML statement. Means executed for each and every DML statement. Means every record. Suppose say example we have 1000 records. So 1000 times it is going to execute it. The DML, the respected operation. Let it be, we will check it one by one. Here, this is the syntax, create or replace. Already we know that. Trigger name. The trigger name, we can give anyone. That here, the trigger will be going to fire in 2 ways. Before or after. Before going to do any DML operations, or else after completion of our DML operations. Then before or after. Before trigger event or after trigger event. Then after that, then here, before trigger event, insert, update or delete. Okay. Then on table name. On which table you want to write a trigger. Okay. For each row, where condition, then will be go for the next one by one syntax. Okay. The next here, execution order in triggers. Okay, execution order. So here already I told you before after, right? So first before statement level, next before row level, next after row level, the finally after statement level. This is the way of execution in trigger. Okay, sequence. Then first we want to work with the statement level trigger. Here observe this one. In statement level trigger, trigger body is executed only once for each DML statement. Suppose say example, DML statements are insert, update, delete. Okay. Then that's why generally statement level triggers used to define type-based condition. Type-based condition, and also used to implement editing reports. This trigger does not contain new and old qualifiers. That will be discussed what is the qualifiers, how it is working also. Then here observe this one. I am going to write a simple program. Okay. Write a PLSQL statement level trigger on employee table. On employee table, not to perform DML operation in Saturday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday. So what happens? Suppose say example here I have a bank account. I have a bank account in ICICI Bank. Okay. Suppose I can go to do the any transaction in Sunday. So have it possible to done the transaction or not? We can possible to do the transaction, right? But data does not reflected from the backend. Okay. Suppose if you want to transfer the amount within the ICICI, then it will be accepted, right? If you want to transfer the amount from your account to another bank account, means external account. Your account is ICICI bank account, your friend account is SBI account. But at the time of transaction, at the time of doing transaction, it is clearly asked to you, then which date you want to transfer the amount. Today we can't possible to transfer the transaction. It is showing you one message, right? Today is a Sunday. We can't perform. You cannot perform any transaction in this today. So in this point of time, what we do? They are giving the one more point, that is called as a note. If you want to schedule the transaction from tomorrow, then you can go to give the date is tomorrow date. Have you clear or not? Okay. Then in this point of time, how that message automatically appear when we are going to do the transaction? Because of whenever we are going to do the transaction from front end, definitely it will be reflected into the back end. In that back end table, there are all the people already write a one trigger. Okay. That trigger message automatically display when we are going to do the transaction from the front end. Okay. How we can do that? Here observe this one. We have a create or replace trigger name. That is a syntax before insert or update or delete. I cannot allow any transaction, any DML operation. Suppose say example insert or update or delete. Okay. On particular table. Okay. Here, and also you don't apply any trigger on EMP table. Okay. Suppose if you write a trigger on EMP table, the lot of people are working on same table, the remaining people does not allow any transaction. Suppose unfortunately you can write a trigger on EMP table. Write a trigger is means insert, update or delete. Okay, you already write it, right? So after that, one of the another person is going to do the some insertion on EMP table. It does not accept it. Each and every time it is show us somebody is write a trigger, trigger does not allow any insertion operation or insertion, deletion or updation, whatever it may be. The person does not do anything. Each and every time system is going to raise a trigger. Okay, that is the reason. So what we do, we are going to create a one more table which is having the different name and will be work with the trigger. Work with the trigger. Say example here. Now I want to create a new table. Create table. Suppose say example here I am going to give JPP8T. Okay, or better to create EMP J9. This is your table. Okay, this is your table as select start from here. Now the table is created. Let it be check it. Okay, now I want to work with this table while using create a trigger. Then here observe the very simple condition, create or replace trigger name before insert or update or delete. Before, if you want to do the any DML operation, before that it is going to check it. Okay, not after. Okay, before. And begin. Okay, begin and only we can go to write a logic. If to char sysdate dy means I can compare with the day. Okay, in Saturday and Sunday, then automatically we can raise a error application, Oracle application, SAP application, any kind of application. So it is the error in application in front end, right? So are we clear on that? Rise application error. Already we worked on that rise application error. If you want to create your own message with your own number, then we can go for rise application error. Here I am using my own number. So here also we have a one limit, number limit, right? That respective number we can assign. Then here we can go to write a specific user message. Okay, this we cannot perform DML on Saturday and Sunday. Okay, then now we can go to close the end if and end. So on which table? On this respective table. Okay, let it be check it here. Create or replace trigger name. Suppose example TRG1. This is my trigger name. So here what we do, create or replace trigger name before insert or update or delete on table. Which table? EMP J8. Okay, then next we can go for, so what we do, then begin. Yes, we can write a proper syntax for that. Then begin. Here we can write the check the condition. If sysdate, yeah, to care of sysdate comma dy in Saturday comma Sunday, then rise application error. So here we can specify the minus 20,000 1 2 3 we cannot perform any operations on Saturday and Sundays. Then next end if and end the program. Okay, let it be check it. Trigger is created. Now observe this one. Now I can go to do the any some operation on this table. Okay, suppose say example sorry, delete from emp j at where dept number equal to 10. Oh, sorry. Today is Monday, right? We can do some changes. Monday, Tuesday. Just write that.
Yeah. There is application.
Yeah, not a problem. The error message will be written anything that will be displayed. So now we can write it delete from JPP, sorry, emp j8 where each number equal to 10. So which is the message we are going to write here? That message clearly shows. But it is a backend. Right now we are working with backend only. Backend clearly shows. But now I want to see this information from front end. Okay. Suppose say example, very simple. Here. Just check it in our respected table. What happened in that our table fnd user. Let it be just we check it. What happened from front end. So here observe this one on another table. So okay, fine, not a problem. I want to drop the trigger. Then. So now I want to create this trigger on this table. Trigger is created. So where we create a trigger? fnd user, right? Now let it be. Open the Oracle applications. Then now I log in with operations. What happened? Has been detected. What is your username?
ABC, sir.
ABC, right?
ABC or the keyboard?
Oracle error. Error number and reason has been detected in routine. Why it is not logged? 1 second. We can, even though we cannot log in into the Oracle application, the trigger is going to observe this one. What is the power of the trigger? Okay, if you write it any trigger, but actually what is the use of the trigger? We cannot write, it means we cannot insert, update, delete, right? But here what happens means, even though if you log into that application also, it will be updated the foo columns. For every login, it will be going to updated some data, right? So you are login so and so date, you are login so and so time. That is the reason. It is also one new record, right? If you log in also, that is the reason we cannot possible to log in here. Observe this one. What is the power of the trigger? Even though you can write it any trigger, if you write any trigger on a particular table, that entire transaction means here today is Saturday or Sunday. Okay, the respected transaction. If you want to do the any transaction, that is abnormal transaction. Okay, it is an invalid transaction. So what happens? System does not allow that user. If you try it so many times, here observe this one. We are giving the credentials to the end user. We are giving this front end access only. We cannot give the back end access. Even though the end user have the good knowledge on Oracle application also, the person don't have the access on back end, right? So, but as a developer, we are going to do anything from the back end. That is the reason we cannot possible to use this one. Are we clear on that? So, in this way, we can go to maintain that abnormal transaction. So in real life, what are the client requirement is going to ask to you? Suppose say example, I don't want to allow some transaction. I want to restrict that some transaction on particular tables. So tables means a transaction means definitely we are worked on tables only. Suppose say example, item transaction. We done item transaction in inventory, right? So suppose the client want to ask to you, I don't want to do the any transaction on Saturday on that particular item transaction or move order transaction. So where we can go to write the trigger? Have you possible to write a trigger on move order transaction? No. It cannot possible, right? If you want to restrict the data, means if you want to restrict the transaction on that move order transaction, but before that we can go to write a trigger on move order tables. Move order tables. Once you can write a trigger on move order tables, automatically the end user does not do any operation from the front end. Even though front end also, if you want to means maintain that restrictions, then we can go for the personalization. We can go for the personalization. So we didn't complete that personalization in your batch. So when we enter into the forms, then I will explain to you how we can go to maintain the restriction from front end application also. Clear? All of you. So in this point of time, we work with that respected triggers. Clear? But don't do that. Any person, if you do any mistake on application tables or any new table, means employee tables, some other people is getting a lot of problems. So even though suppose say example, unfortunately I created a trigger on a F&D user table. I forgot it. I forgot it to drop the trigger. What happened? The entire application is going to hold up, right? No one is going to log in, no one is going to log out. Even though we cannot possible to log in, how we can log out? Right? That is the reason you don't do any trigger operations on our application tables and EMP DEMT tables. If you want to check it, then same thing here. What I am going to do? Observe. This is our trigger. In my trigger, I want to do some operations. Then JPP, EMP, J8. Let it be. Trigger is created. Now we can check it whether this trigger is working or not. Very simple. Delete from EMP J8 where the bit number equal to 10. Then, which is the error you expect from the front end application? That error we clearly write it while using rise application error. Which is the error message is going to coming here. The same message will be going to come from the front end. Clear? All of you. That is the reason. It's a very important one. So that is the reason we didn't cover this triggers to previous batch also. Even though any one person is going to do the any mistake, then entire people is going to getting the problem. Okay, the triggers part is very important to the each and every people. The next we can go for, observe this one. I am going to write one more operation. Then here write a PLSQL statement level trigger. Statement level trigger only. Okay, on EMP table not to perform DML operation on last day of the month. Maybe last day I want to check with the auditing details, auditing reports. I want to run the auditing reports for every month in my organization, not a financial reports, just auditing reports. I want to check each and every month the transaction will be checking in last day of the month. So that day no one is going to do the any DML operations. Auditing means finalize. So who has, suppose sales team is going to done how many sales, what are the targets, everything. If in case if you want to do the means at the time of auditing, somebody is going to allow the DML operation, what happen? It will be going to update it. Means it is giving the some reflection of our final reports. That is the reason that day, the particular day, no one is going to allow the DML operations. I am going to do the a proper work. So how much will be done in the respective transaction in the particular month, right? Then here, observe this one. Write a PLSQL statement level. Now, PLSQL statement level. Create or replace trigger name before insert or update or delete on specific table if this date is last day. So what are the conditions we want to apply? For that conditions we want to use the functions. These are all of the date functions, right? Conversion functions. We have two types of conversion function, to number and to char and to date, and to number is also there. Okay. So for that particular transaction, if you want to apply on particular dates, then we can go for these respective functions. So very simple. Last day, sys date. Last day, sys date. Automatically system is going to understand whenever we want to do the any transaction on particular day. So automatically it is going to avoid the transaction. Here, suppose if it is not working here because of we are already entered in the new month. So end of the 31st means end of the month is our present month is 31st 2015, right? Then automatically we cannot perform any operation on that particular table. Clear? Then the condition is a very important, right? The next, trigger event. Trigger event. Here, if you want to define multiple conditions on multiple tables, then all database systems use trigger events. So we have several database systems are there. Okay. So that several database systems, if you want to allow the any abnormal transaction, means does not allow the any DML operations or does not allow the any abnormal transaction, then definitely the people is using the trigger events. Okay. Here these are inserting, updating and deleting classes, and these classes are used in either row level or statement level. Already we worked on statement level, right? The next, here observe this one. If inserting, if you do the any insertion, then we are going to execute the statements. The next, else if updating statement, else if deleting, then statements. Then here we write a simple program. PLSQL statement level trigger on empty table not to perform any DML operations in any days. In any days. Any DML operation in any days using triggering event. Using triggering event. Here, what is that triggering event? Here observe this. If inserting, then rise application error. We cannot perform insertion operation. Suppose, say example, I have a one table, balances table. Have you heard about that balances table? When it is reflected? Whenever we post the journals. Whenever we post the journals, the GL balances table is reflected. Suppose, say example, I am one of the end user. Can be possible to do the some insertion from back into that table?
We can't do.
Sure. I am the end user. I want to do the some insertion operation on that table. GL balances table from back end. I don't want to insert any data from front end. I want to insert the data from back end.
Okay, you can insert.
Definitely, right? Definitely we can write it. We can use the insert command, insert into table name. GL balances. Have you inserted or not? No one is restricted to write. We can directly insert it. We can do the any manipulation in that table. But it is a very important table. It's a very important table for maintaining the balances in our organization. If any person is going to do the manipulate for the table, what happen? The entire transaction is going to means getting the problem, right? So someday is going to done so and so transaction, someday is going to do some transactions. If you do any DML operations or means any manipulate in the table, so next day automatically it is going to reflect to the our transaction. From front end does not show us, but back end data is there, right? It is an important table or not? Definitely. Now I want to restrict. I want to restrict on the table. No one is going to do the any DML operations in any day. 365 days no one is going to enter on that table. So then we can go for respected trigger. Have you clear? Right. Then here observe this one. Create or replace trigger before insert or update or delete on that particular table. Begin. If inserting. We have 3 events, right? 3 events. Inserting, updating, deleting. So these are the events. Okay. Then now I want to insert the data. If you want to insert the data, automatically it will show us one error message. If you want to delete it, it will show us some message. If you want to update it, suppose say example very simple. Okay. So that is a very important table, balances table. I want to write a trigger on that balances table. No one is going to do the any DML operations on any day in 365 days also. Clear? All of you. Then now I am going to write a program. So here observe this one. This type of triggers we call it as a statement level trigger. The entire table will be going to do the transaction only once. Right? Then let it be, I am going to write a simple program. Create or replace trigger name. Okay. Before. Suppose if you put as a after, if you allow the any DML operation, after that it is going to rise. But before that it is a better. Okay. Before insert or update or delete on EMP date. Begin if, okay, if inserting, okay, if inserting, then rise application error. We cannot perform insertion operation. We cannot perform insertion operation. Then else updating or updation. Else updating. Then rise directly we can write it. Yeah, else if. Yes. Else if rise application error. So we cannot perform update operation. Else if deleting, then rise. Have you find out what is the important of that rise application error? Yeah. Okay, it's a very important. So without having knowledge on this rise application error, you can't possible to do the any trigger. You cannot possible to write any trigger without having idea about that rise application error. Basically, this rise application error will be using on triggers only. Delete operation. So finally we end if and end the program. Let it be check it. what happened? Trigger is created. Now I want to do the some operations on that respected table. Insert into empty j8 empty number comma ename values under if. We cannot perform insertion operation. Then next I want to do the some updation. Update table set salary equal to salary plus 1000. Okay, let it be. I am going to do that. I want to do the any updation operation, whatever it may be. Then we cannot perform update operation. Then at the same time I want to delete it. Delete from jpp. Sorry, emp j8. Any day, 365 days you can go to do the any operation. It does not have. So that is the importance of trigger. So here observe, this trigger is going to fire only once. Okay, the entire it is going to execute it only once at a time. Statement level, one statement, right? If you do any statement, say example insertion, updation or deletion, it is a one statement. It is fire only once. Clear? So in this point of time we work with this statement level trigger. And also here I write a one more simple example. Okay, we create a one table, insertion or updation or deletion on table. If you want to specify that, then I define a one variable. Already we know that it's a very simple program. Begin, if inserting, then it keeps some message into the variable. If you do any insertion, that data will be keep into the variable, means rows inserted, row inserted. And else if updating, row updated, else if deleting, then row deleted. Then finally we are going to specify the end if insert into values. Insert into values means just I want to maintain the specific, this message only will be inserted and maintained into this one. Here observe this one, if you do any DML operation, this table, that respected operation information will be keep into the another table. I have a EMP table. If you do any operation on that EMP table, that respected of events, right, inserting or updating or deleting, that will be keep into the another table. I can easily monitor that information. Okay, who are going to done that respected act. It is a simple program. Okay, if you want to expand that program and implement it different logic, that will be also maintained. Means nothing but a who columns. Who are going to update it, who are going to insert it, who are going to delete it. Right? This is the way we are going to working with that statement level. Okay.